Aren't strategic bombers similar to aircraft carriers, where there are many similarities in the threats to it, and tanks also. Vaibhav says, what is the role of bombers in any air force around the world? Why are they so costly? And why doesn't India acquire bombers as only Russia, China, US have it now? So let me give you an example of what strategic bombers look like. The Americans have a number of strategic bombers. What are strategic bombers? These are massive planes. Some of them are subsonic, some of them are supersonic. Yeah. Let's see strategic bombers. So the one you're seeing right now is the B-1 bomber, the Bone. So there are various kinds of massive planes. This one is a supersonic plane. This is a different kind of plane. What they have in common is they've got very long range. They can fly for maybe 10,000 kilometers with refueling, maybe without refueling, and they can carry massive amounts of weapons, bombs to be deployed. Some of these, so these are some future strategic bombers apparently. The Chinese are investing in this. The Russians have their Tupolev strategic bombers, very long ranges, and we have the B2 bomber that the Americans have, the stealth bomber, and so on and so forth. There are all these weapons and weapon systems and aircraft under development, right? So what are the commonalities that strategic bombers have? Firstly, a strategic bomber has a very long range, thousands of kilometers they can fly, most ideally without refueling, maybe 10,000 kilometers. Go far away, do your stuff, and come back without refueling. Secondly, they can carry massive amounts of bombs. So why are strategic bombers needed? First of all, if you were to target a target with cruise missiles, so if you want to destroy a target, you can send a bomber there and drop bombs on it, GPS enabled bombs or whatever, or you could send cruise missiles there to destroy the target. Cruise missiles are not prohibitively, but very expensive. Cruise missiles typically cost millions of dollars per piece, per unit. You deploy 100 cruise missiles, you're spending more than $100 million. But you could drop many more bombs than that, which would achieve a much better effect for you of destroying the target for much less money. So that's why these strategic bombers are useful for that. And strategic bombers are obviously vulnerable, like Ramalakshmi is saying. Uh, Strategic bombers typically fly high, maybe 10 kilometers, maybe 15 kilometers, and they are visible. They are slow moving targets, they are visible. So they face great threats. Nations with good air defenses can take out strategic bombers, and that's why there is nowadays the emphasis on stealth. The B2 bomber is a stealth bomber. It's a very long range bomber. You can look up what range it has. It can carry a significant amount of payload, weapons payload, bombs, and it's very hard to detect. But your other bombers, like the B-1 bomber, etc., they are visible and they can be taken out with a nation with reasonably good defenses. There will be countermeasures that these aircraft have. So, is it true that strategic bombers are similar to aircraft carriers? Aircraft carriers are big, slow-moving targets. You can defend them with all kinds of multi-layered defenses, but it's just a mathematical certainty that if you have enough missiles, you will take out the aircraft carrier. That's why aircraft carriers are not used in contested environments. Aircraft carriers are never used in contested environments. So what about these strategic bombers? Are they useful? So in the past 2 3 decades, where have the Americans actually actively used strategic bombers? They have used strategic bombers in places like Kosovo during the the Balkan Wars of the turn of the century in the 1990s. They have used strategic bombers in Afghanistan to target the Taliban. The Taliban can't shoot back, so it's okay. They've used strategic bombers in Iraq after they've destroyed all the air defenses of Saddam Hussein. They've used strategic bombers in Libya after neutralizing air defenses. They've used strategic bombers in Syria, where again the terrorists and Assad's regime, etc., not terrorists, the Assad regime did not have the ability to take out these bombers. So the strategic bombers today are good at carrying lots of bombs and carrying lots of missiles over very large distances. And they are good at deploying these weapons on enemies that cannot shoot back. Yeah, if you were to send a strategic bomber into contested airspace, there is a very high likelihood it will be destroyed. Yeah, so there are certain things that strategic bombers do. First of all, they carry standoff weapons, cruise missiles that can be deployed at a long range. So you come near the target, maybe 1000 kilometers or 1500 kilometers from the target, and then you launch a cruise missile. So that is one kind of thing you could do. So the thing is that strategic bombers are slowly but steadily becoming obsolete unless you have something that's invulnerable, something like a stealth bomber. Yeah. Uh, and strategic bombers can be replaced by fighter planes. F-16s, F-18s, Rafale jets, Tejas jets that can go and do the same thing. And these fighter planes can actually defend themselves and destroy other aircraft as well. But they cannot carry a Tejas jet or a F-16 or a Rafale cannot carry thousands of tons of bombs. So that is a drawback. So either you use strategic bombers in non-contested environments where there is no chance of it getting destroyed, or you use very expensive cruise missiles, or you use fighter jets which need to have multiple sorties, and then they can carry less weapons and so on. So these are the various scenarios that currently exist, right? So overall, war is expensive. Yeah, and there is always the possibility that you will lose your expensive assets. And increasingly, strategic bombers are slowly, I would say, becoming obsolete. In the future, you will have drones, kamikaze drones, inexpensive kamikaze drones that could perhaps do the thing, or you could have other kinds of weaponry that do not put your expensive platform at risk and your people at risk. Yeah. So yes, I agree that in some ways a strategic bomber is similar to an aircraft carrier.